Hey everyone, Barkat here. Welcome to our marketing show, and this is episode 5. Today we have Johnny Everhard with us. Johnny is the founder of Everhard Media Marketing, where he helps businesses scaling using the laser-focused Google Ads strategies. He has also experience across a wide range of industries, from personal law injury firm to mobile auto detailing and e-com brands, and the results really speak for themselves. In addition, John runs also YouTube channels called John Everhart. I'll link this below so that you guys can have a look. Which where he featured like 100 plus videos, like 104 videos packed with valuable tips on Google Ads. So, John, can you share your story? How did you started with Google Ads?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Barkat, I appreciate the introduction. Very happy to be here. This is my very first podcast. I know Barkat and I were just talking about that behind the scenes, so
Yeah.
very excited. So again, I
Uh-huh.
appreciate you for reaching out, man. Really excited to get into it. But that is a really good question, man. So I graduated with a bachelor's in finance in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I've just kind of always, I guess, growing up, my family was always just in business. So I grew up working in the family businesses through and through. So I'm very lucky, to have that early experience and just be around people that were constantly talking about business. So I knew that I wanted to do something as soon as I could. So I got into
Yeah.
a sales position, a sales job right out of school, and then kind of used those commission checks to honestly just build like a nest egg so where I could start my own business. And I
Yeah,
very
yeah.
quickly, was just basically going down the list of like, okay, what kind of business do I start? And I was like, well, I don't have the money or experience to have like any kind of brick and mortar or like really local service. And I'm like, okay, so that leaves like internet related businesses. And I'm like, okay, I could be like an influencer. I could maybe be like a content creator. And I'm like, I don't have any of that, creativity or ability.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems really slow. I'm like, okay, I need to start a digital service business. So then,
Wow.
so I live here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I went to a lot
Uh-huh.
of networking, and I met some guys that are around my age who were in digital marketing. We became really good friends, and then I basically dedicated like the last 3.5 years of my life just basically becoming a full on Google Ads expert
Oh.
slash nerd, basically.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's really like amazing journey, like you spend a lots of times, to learn the Google Ads. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely,
appreciate
man.
you joining this podcast as well. So yeah, I'm thinking about like if I just email you, so will you reply or something? Because my channel is not so big. There are like 200 more subscribers. So I am just thinking about like let's see, what will happen. And you finally replied. I got couple of replies, from couple of YouTubers as well. So yeah, we'll do a podcast series. Yeah. And it's all about the Google Ads. So
Nice.
I really want to help people who are eager to learn Google Ads, to be honest with you. Like I don't have any course, but I am really excited if I can help them at least like little bit of things so that they can learn the Google Ad, you know. Anyway, so
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's why, yeah, that's why we are just, like recording this kind of thing. So yeah, I have a couple of questions for you, to be honest with you.
Sure.
In terms of setup part, the conversion tracking stuff, like I just break down the step by step process. So I will ask you some questions firstly about the setup part. So yeah, we all know that, right? Campaign structure can make or break results. So when you're starting a brand new account, what is your step by step process for building the first campaign? And I just want to add one more thing. And what is the most common mistake you see at that stage? Like when
I
people
like
maybe.
it. Very good question, man. Yeah, this is kind of where I pride myself. So, yeah, if anyone, looks at my channel, a lot of my videos are how to. I
Yeah.
actually, get the most people reach out from those videos because people like, looking it up for their industry, how to get set up.
Uh-huh.
And I like those videos because, when I was learning it years ago, I'm always still learning Google Ads, of course. But all the videos I watched, I feel like really left out, some like major key details. But to answer the first part of that question is typically how I set it up. I'm not going to talk about like conversion tracking and stuff. I'm just going
Yeah.
to jump into like the actual campaign setup, like you said. But typically, of course, depending on the business, but more likely than not, it's going to be a search campaign, especially for
Uh-huh.
anything local service, right? And the way that I set those up is basically when I have the actual conversation with the client, I'm like, hey, what do we actually want to advertise for? Because more times
Mm-hmm.
than not, right, businesses are all different, right? So for instance, like a mobile auto detailing company, they've got a lot of
Yeah.
different services, but they might kind of fall under the same thing, right? Like interior cleaning, exterior,
Yeah.
mobile car washing,
Mm-hmm.
detailing, those can potentially all be like relatively the same, depending on
Mm-hmm.
what, like the subscription and how they do it. But for instance, like an asphalt paving company that has commercial, residential patching, like those are very, very different services as a whole, right? You can't really group
Yeah.
those. So when it comes to the setup, of course, I always talk with the client, see what we want to advertise for and why, basically what has the best margins. Most people have an understanding of what they want to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the biggest area, I guess, that I guess one of the biggest strategies that I implement in all my accounts is going to be stags. So single theme ad groups.
Oh, I really like
Especially,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yes, dude. When I'm like auditing Google accounts from past agencies, or if clients are running the Google ads themselves, I almost all the time just see so many different keywords into the same
Yeah.
ad group, and it's that like you're never really going to be able to scale that way. It makes the data really unclear, and it's like now your people get mixed messaging, right? It's like if you've
Yeah.
got interior cleaning or patching as a keyword, and then people are seeing headlines for potentially different service or like different locations. So I like to
Uh-huh.
really go above and beyond and separate that stuff. So it just makes it way more clear on like scaling direction and what's getting spent and what's not. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
really like that. Yeah. Yeah, like single theme ad group basically. So I mean,
Mhm.
I got a client from Upwork. So it's a junk removal space, like he's running a junk removal company. So we
Mhm.
created 20 ad groups under his, account. And
There
he
we
said,
go.
yeah, he said, what the like what the hell you were doing, like 20 ad groups is
Right.
too many. I said that no, just do this thing. Like for furniture, we need to create one separate ad group for furniture, like furniture rank rival. We need to create like one construction derbies, it should be another ad group. So like if you break down the ad groups, so so that you can control the ad copy plus landing pages, so this
Yep.
kind of, yeah, this kind of structure I also follow as well. And here's the another thing I just want to know. Landing page conversion tracking, the keywords, these are the most important thing, like when it
Mhm.
comes to the Google Ads setup. So if someone asks, or someone's goal is to create a profitable campaign, what is the key factor they should keep in mind during the setup? Are you saying that we need to follow the or maybe we need to focus on the keyword first, or like what? What would be your answer here?
Okay, so you're asking like, what's the number one thing that's going to pull the lever between someone being profitable and someone not for Google
Correct.
Ads? Is that basically what you're
Yep.
asking?
Yep.
Dude, that's going to come down to conversion rate for sure, right? Because like no matter what you do in Google Ads, you can get the search, like you can get the searches you need, right? If you just
Yeah.
put the keywords and even if you just don't even make any negative keywords, right? If you have the keywords, like those are the relative searches that you're going to get, right? So getting the eyeballs is like
Uh-huh.
anyone can really do that, but now it's like, okay, now we have to convert them,
Yeah.
right? So I would say
Agree.
conversion rate's the biggest thing. And obviously there's a lot of things that influence that, but one of the biggest things, kind of like you're mentioning with landing pages, one of those biggest things, in my experience, excuse me, is the landing page. Like your
Yeah.
messaging has to be clear. And that's also why like the single theme ad groups works really well because now you're speaking
Correct.
to directly what someone looked for.
Yeah.
Like I know you mentioned you don't do a ton of e-commerce, but I do quite a bit. And I'm working with he's more of like it's like an energy health supplement for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
but we literally have ad groups specifically for all natural energy supplement, energy booster, energy supplement, like
Oh,
breaking it down that far, right? Because I
yeah.
want the ad copy to reflect that. So like even
Correct.
all that stuff, negative keywords, all of that stuff, when you keep all that clean, that's what really helps that conversion rate as a whole. So it is a group effort. But yeah, conversion rate is one of the biggest things I see, being the overall problem. And I think a lot of people actually
Mm.
neglect that because it's like, cool,
Yeah.
like we got the ads, but honestly, making Google ads work, like 50% of the effort is having a good converting web page. Because after someone
Yeah.
clicks on the ad, Google's done. Google took their money, right? Like your job is
Yeah.
kind of done now. It's up to the site. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Agree. 100% agree. Yeah. I do have a couple of questions regarding landing page. I will ask below. So yeah. So
sure.
if like let's say client often asks about the budgeting, right? So if someone's
Mhm.
asks how many lead will I get if I spend X amount of money on Google Ads? So how do you estimate and manage their expectations? And also, have you ever turned down a client because their budget expectation was unrealistic?
Yes, those are both really good questions. I have absolutely turned people down for that kind of stuff. I will say, and you probably know it, like in this industry, like agency owner to agency owner, I've learned that setting expectations with clients is extremely
Oh,
important.
it
I
is.
learned that very early on because it's like, and I don't blame anyone because everyone has their own I guess like thoughts or they've learned things or heard things in the past that are shaping how they currently think. But I've definitely talked to some people where I'm just like, you know what, man, like this is not even worth like the conversation. Like,
Yeah.
hey, like we need phone calls for $2 a piece. And I'm like, well, it's probably not gonna happen. And it's like there's nothing I can do to shape that.
Oh my
Like we
God.
need leads for under $1. And I'm like, well, that's probably not
Oh,
gonna happen. Right.
really?
So like stuff like that. Yeah. So I've absolutely turned people down because of that. And it's just because they some for some reason have like some thought process before, or just, I guess maybe have heard the wrong information. So those can be really hard to reshape those people when they're really stuck on that. So yes, I have
Mhm.
turned down clients for that. And then I'm so sorry. Would you remind me of the first part of that question?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of budgeting, like how many, like let's say
Oh,
if
right.
someone asks like how many leads I will get if I spend X amount of money on Google, like how do you do this stuff? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's also always a tricky one too, and that kind of comes in like setting the expectations, because you don't want to set the wrong expectations, right? But typically,
correct.
like, I work like relatively, in a handful of industries. I have clients in literally like any kind of business that I could imagine. They're all over the place, but for the most part, like a core majority of my clients are in a relative industry, and those industries just kind of have like benchmarks that I know from
Mhm.
experience. If it's someone that I haven't worked with before, or like a business I haven't, an industry I've never touched, it does make it more difficult. But I will kind of like pinpoint like an idea of conversion rate that I would want to be, and then do keyword
Yeah.
research and multiply. Okay, if we're gonna get 10 clicks and I want the conversion rate to be 15 to 20%, that's kind of how I do that quick math. And then of course I always talk about how, hey, like after 30 days, that's when we're really like you're gonna be seeing that cost per conversion graph really go down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
always, of
Hmm.
course, shoot for the lower end because I overanalyze and optimize, all my accounts like crazy. But yeah, I typically just
Uh-huh.
do quick math like that. Or unless it's someone who's like a locksmith or a plumber, or like the industry benchmark. So there's like a high and a low, for the most part anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
a
what is the
combination.
industry benchmark for the plumber? So, I mean, what do you,
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, of course, it's all going to depend on like the area that they're into. The really, more like metro popular areas are going to have a lot more competitors, so that can typically
Mhm.
drive, those CPCs up as well. But basically, on the highest end, and this means like if you don't have someone who's great at running your ads either, and you might be a little bit more expensive or in a super popular area, I've seen some plumbers getting calls for like 120 to $130 a piece, and that's obviously very, very expensive. But I have a plumber that I'm working with right now. We're getting calls for about $50.
Yeah.
So it
It's
can be a
fantastic. Yeah.
very
Hmm.
big range, right? And of course, I
Yeah.
know this is almost a whole different topic, so I won't get too into it. But when it comes to those super saturated industries like plumbing, you have to be really, really creative with your keywords. If you're just like plumber near me, that's like a $90 click in some places, right? So you
Yeah.
got to use longer tail, more unique keywords to mitigate those CPCs, which is like going to help you a ton.
I mean,
So.
can you give some example? Like, I mean, what do you mean by the longer tail? Like, is this something, best plumber near me, this kind of things? Like, I mean, how it works?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna give you a good example here. So I'm working with they're actually here in Arizona, which is great. I love working with local companies. But he is like a locksmith, but he just focuses on key replacement, right? It's like if
Hmm.
someone, right? So if you have a car, you can typically go to like your dealership and they'll like make you a new key fob,
Hmm.
recharge it, reset it up, give you a new key, etc. Typically costs quite a bit from the dealership. But then also depending on what year you have of your car, or if you don't buy it from a dealership, you're kind of on your own, right? So what he
Yeah.
does is he actually goes out to, drives to them and like basically remaps and like redoes their key and their key fob for them. So for an example, the overall, and again, this kind of comes down to the like the whole single theme ad groups and like going above and beyond and not being lazy with that. Like this is where it pays off, right? Because like keyword research for just the words of like car key replacement or truck key replacement, they're just super generic, super open, like all encompassing, right?
Yeah.
Those clicks are about 2x the price of what we're doing, because I have an ad group for every single vehicle model. So I've got like Mercedes car key replacement. I have Jeep, I have Chevy, we have Ford, we've gone
Oh,
down like, Nissan, Hyundai, everything,
yeah.
right?
I get it.
So I've
Hmm.
got, yeah, like 12 ad groups for every major like car brand, and that's how we pick those. And yes, the search volume is lower for those, but I mean, it's higher intent. It's also half the price. So our
Yeah.
conversion rate goes up because of that as well. That, saves us a ton. So we're able to get him leads at a very, very great price for him to be able to scale his business based on just like going above and beyond, because the generic is always easiest and it's going to be more expensive because that's what's popular. So that's kind of again like where it pays off, is like really getting down like into like the nitty gritty, the weeds, the more specifics, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. So, I
but
mean,
yeah.
have you tried a specific landing page for specific ad groups? Like what you said, like have you used that before?
Yes, I have, and it really all depends on like how different the services are, right? So like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, like for this guy, like the exact, key replacement locksmith I'm talking about, I do not have
Mm-hmm.
a separate landing page for every like type of car, model or make, because that's just not necessarily necessary, I guess, in my opinion. It's like a
Yeah.
catch-all locksmith landing page for overall car key replacement. We have a lot of keywords on the landing page that mention these actual car models and brands and stuff, like for the actual quality score and ad rank to help with congruency.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
because that's like kind of all encompassing, I don't see it as important. But again, if you're like an asphalt paving company or like if you're a roofing company, right? And you
Yeah.
have metal roof, you have, shingles roof, you have roof
Flat roof. Yeah.
replacement,
Mm-hmm.
roof, like roof repair. Like those are very, very different. So for those, I would have separate landing pages. So yes, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
just all
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah,
It kind
makes
of just
sense. Yeah.
depends.
Yeah, makes
Mhm.
sense. Yeah. Totally makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to the like creating responsive search ads, so how do you control the messaging? I mean, I know that like Google mixes the headlines and descriptions.
Sure.
Do you pin headlines and descriptions on the Google? I mean, ad copy.
Yeah, I only really pin a couple, and I know I can't remember the exact number, but Google only lets you pin so many. Like you can't pin all 15. I've tried
Yeah.
it a long time ago. You can only pin a couple, and the only ones that I pin are just like very, very specific that I don't want to necessarily be in a certain spot. Obviously, so I typically only pin like three to
One, two,
four,
three.
but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. But like the way that I control the messaging is so for every ad, right? I'm just going to talk about, just responsive search ads for this example. But right, we have 15 headline options. So what I do, and I talk about this a lot of my videos, but I always mix it up. I don't know if there's four or there's five, but I'll talk about it right now. But I like to include these like four or five pillars of ad copy. So every single responsive search ad has to have a combination of these four or
Yeah.
five elements, and it's going to be emotional, right? So like,
Yeah.
why is someone buying? Like, what is someone getting out of this? Like, go into the more
Yeah. I
emotional.
got it.
That
Mm-hmm.
typically works for like more luxury stuff. It's harder for plumbers. Like, if it's 2 in the morning and someone's locked out of their house or their bathroom is overflowing, like you don't really need like emotional there. But this works for non-essential brands, right? But like luxury is one, or I'm sorry, emotional is one. Like expertise is the second one. I like location. So I always want to, talk about like how many local reviews we have, how many local families or neighborhoods we've helped,
Yeah.
how long we've been in town, who we operate
Mm-hmm.
in, etc. And then always like technology or just I guess this kind of touches like expertise, but I work with a lot of like med spas and like surgery clinics. So I
Uh-huh.
always want to talk about like how accredited the doctors are and how long they've been doing this for and how many surgeries they've done, like stuff like that, right? And then the next one is always going to be the offer.
Yeah.
So if we're doing 49.99 service calls, or if we're doing
Mm-hmm.
free AC checks in the summer, like stuff like that. So in every responsive search ad, I include a combination of all, four or five of those things to get a
Yeah.
good mixture. That's what I always
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I get it. So, I mean, how we typically do actually. So, in responsive sorted, you can pin 14 headlines, but in three
Mhm.
different positions. One, two, and three. First one, two, and three.
Yep.
So, first line we typically use like keyword focus. Like, let's say it's for like water heater replacement ad group. So we use water heater replacement related terms on the first like
Mhm.
line, and we pin that on the position one. Position two, we pin a value prop, and it is overall value prop. Like, why should they choose us? I mean, why should people choose us? This kind of value propositions we pin on the
Right.
position two, and position three, we just like add clear city. I mean, call to actions like call us and free. I mean, get a free on-site estimate. This kind of things. So I mean, yeah, I
Yes.
mean that's how we approach this ad copy, and yeah, it's good actually. Like some industries I saw that, by pinning headline, like it's hurting the ad performance overall. But for some
Mhm.
industry, like, HVAC or plumbing, this kind of industry, yeah, pinning headline is good. I mean, you will get like high CTR, probably 8 to 10% CTR from the campaign or maybe from the ad group level. So yeah, it's fine. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's hurts. I mean, it's hurting the ad performance. It depends actually. It depends on the scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's why I think that like I think that maybe a lot of people don't take this as into much consideration as they should. But like there's a
Uh-huh.
serious difference of how you should be doing your landing pages, how your messaging and how your offer and how everything should look if you're like a necessary like emergency people have to call you business or if you're
Yeah.
like a luxury like non-essential, right? Like plumbers, HVAC, like emergency locksmith. like your messaging should be a lot different because people now like they need you. They don't really have a choice. You know, if
Correct.
someone's locked out of their
Yeah.
house at 2 in the morning, you don't need to be like, man, how would it feel to be in your nice warm home? It's like, dude, come on. Like what people need is like they want like your price or your offer, right? Because now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, what makes it harder for those companies is like they kind of like a race to the bottom, right? Because like if someone has to call, that means whether you're rich or poor, no matter where
Mhm.
you live, no matter what, right? You have to like if your toilet is overflowing, you have to call, right? So people
Yeah,
usually look for like the
100%.
best deal, and it's a pretty quick decision, right? Compared to,
Yeah.
if you're like a cosmetic clinic, like people are like this is non-essential, so it's I typically will go for a lot different messaging, like really
Yeah.
separate. So I
Yeah.
think it matters a lot on the business type for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. 100% agree. So, I mean, do you run remarketing campaign for local service-based business? And I mean, typically what we do actually, yeah, I do remarketing for local service-based business, but we use PMAX campaign. I mean,
Mhm.
it's okay. I mean, not absolutely, like great in terms of, like getting the lead quality, but which is a good
Mhm.
thing. I mean, PMAX right now, you can add the search terms as a negative from the PMAX campaign. Yeah, as you know
Right.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
new. That's
yeah,
new.
it's a new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new. Like, I mean, my question is, do you run remarketing campaign? If yes, like how? I mean, what's your approach here?
Sure. Yeah. And it's also very specific, right? Like when you say
Yeah,
local service, I think of it as like a handful of different things, right? So like a mobile auto detailing business is technically local service, right? Would you agree?
yeah, I agree, 100%.
Okay, right. So that business is different because it's more of like a luxury and something that someone might want compared to
Hmm.
like a plumber or like AC, right? And then it also all just depends on like the budget and how far you've scaled it. So
Yeah.
combining all those, right? If someone doesn't need it, then I will always try a Performance Max campaign. Like it basically depends like how high is like the actual search intent and how many
Hmm.
more people like can we influence, right? Like influence to actually take action, right? For like mobile car detailing, that's like a luxury, right? So that's when
Yeah.
you would use potentially more of that like emotional ad copy for a Performance Max, because that's something that
Correct.
someone could see and go, "Ooh, nice, I could do that." Right? But like
Yeah.
in my opinion, like you don't really have to like be like, "Hey, in case your toilet's ever overflowing, like call us," because they're probably just gonna need to pick up their phone and call who they see anyways. But I
Yeah.
really think it depends too, because yes, I say that, but then it also depends on how big of a budget that you have and you're working with one of those like plumber or AC or locksmith clients, right? Because it gets
Yeah.
to a point when like they become so big and they're spending so much money that you pretty much tapped into like most of the impression share that you're going to get for like a local area. And the Performance Max can be really good for almost just like brand awareness because at that point, like you can only scale vertically so high, especially like again, local service. Like you're not nationwide. You're likely just in like, a radius of like a city or a few cities. So you can only, vertically scale so much. So that is when I would, potentially supplement like a Performance Max campaign to like really flex our offers, be top of
Hmm.
mind and like remarketing, of course. So
Yeah.
very situational, but I do
Yeah,
like
I get
it, of
it.
course.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we are running some PMAX campaign on our like local service-based business account. It's going
Mm,
okay, I would say, like not too much because we use call tracking software and we can listen the phone calls and we can hear we can hear the phone calls and we can mark the lead quality inside our CRM system. So
mhm.
yeah, I mean, I would say like 40% leads from PMAX campaign are good, 60% are bad, really bad. I mean,
Right.
you can't imagine from where you were getting this kind of bad calls. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's what I think is actually interesting because when it comes down to leads, like just form or just phone call, I typically will see, a decent percentage of those leads from a Performance Max be
Correct.
inadequate, right?
Yeah.
Because, and that's normal, right? You're going up in the marketing funnel because the search campaign is very, bottom of funnel, high intent. Performance Max, obviously, you're going up in that funnel.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going more broad, you're more
100%.
influence marketing, of course. But here's a trick for you if you haven't done this as much. I've only like this year been more exposed to it with client businesses, but I have some local service businesses or just local businesses in general that we're
Mm-hmm.
using a Performance Max campaign for, but they're not going for leads, but instead they have a direct online booking platform where someone like buys right then, right? So for
Oh.
example, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So one of my mobile auto detailing businesses, they're using, I think it's Acuity. It's ACQUITY, third party
Mm-hmm.
booking platform, right? Because they have so many reviews, they have such a big fleet, like they're very, very big in the area. So
Mm-hmm.
people have a lot more trust booking with them online, or maybe it's a repeat, right, etc. But that actually helps mitigate a lot. So now instead of going for leads, there's an option to book. or like even for example, I have two escape room businesses where people
Yeah.
book like like they book the room like the tour right away. And for Performance Max, I see booking like where people put either a card on file or book the time. I for PMax is actually working extremely well. So that's
Hmm.
something to keep in mind as well. So it's like it is still like local businesses, local service businesses, but yeah, I like that a lot. That's been
Yeah.
working really well when someone has a booking platform
Yeah.
instead of
I
just
get
call
that.
or lead form, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally
So
get there. So yeah. And the next question would be like in terms of set up the PMX campaign. So what we typically do actually we set up PMX campaign using the custom audience. I mean custom
mhm.
segments. So I learned it and I tested it actually. Like it's working really good if I compare with the search themes. So I mean, how do you set up the PMX campaign using the search themes inside the asset groups, or you use
Mhm.
custom audience or custom segment, in PMX campaign?
Yeah, good question, man. And I do a mixture of both, right? So I kind of follow like the same thing, and it's funny, you can still use stags because now it's just
Yeah,
single term asset groups instead of ad groups. So I basically,
correct.
do the same thing there as well. But when it comes to, like actual like audiences and audience segments, it really just depends so much on the business type.
Mm,
Because again, if it's plumbing, it's like you have everyone from 18 to 65 plus, no matter the race or the income or the age or the gender, an essential business, right? So
mm,
the audience signals there are a lot different. I typically just keep them open. But then
mm,
when it comes to something like, for instance, like if it's like house cleaning or Airbnb cleaning or mobile auto detailing, I will use some things like, hey, just purchased a home or just bought a car or maybe
yeah.
works like, executive
Mm,
level, right? Because you can kind of like feel like into the characteristics of like those type of people or like for a med spa, right? Someone who is gonna like do more like, cosmetical, procedures to their body. Like
mm,
I'm gonna, be targeting people like who are in like the fitness space, who care about like healthy eating, like, just going through like Google's like demographics and interests and stuff, right? So
yeah.
it really depends, but I do use a combination of that. As well as one thing I notice is really underrated is I use an audience segment, where you can actually target traffic of people who have visited other websites. Are you familiar
Websites, yeah.
with that?
Competitor website, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get
Yes.
it.
So I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
I
I
am
do
doing the
that a
same thing.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I love those, dude. Those can be really, really good. But yeah, typically I won't actually use like a like customer data, like have the client or me personally, like, upload like their customer list for retargeting because I know that Solutions 8, they've done so much testing on this that a Performance Max campaign will retarget anywhere from 20 to 40% of your budget, regardless of if you put that in there. So I typically
Yeah.
don't make it that big of a deal. But some clients like e-commerce, it's just really easy. Like they're already in sync, so you can do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
will. But most local service businesses, like they might not even have a CRM with all their leads, or they, like
Yeah.
it's harder
Agree.
to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Agree.
the
Agree.
long answer to your question, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. So yeah. Uh, in terms of making the custom segment. So we are using right now the URLs like competitors' website who visited this website, this kind of things. Plus, let's say for plumber, like we are running a PMX campaign. So how we create the custom audience segments? Who searches? There are two options. I think you already know that. So people who search on Google's by writing this term, or people who has search interest, like purchase interest. So we make this
Right.
kind of two things and combine everything and just make an audience. And yeah, it works. I would say good, not great, but yeah, it
Mhm.
works good. But the lead quality, I saw that like it's good right now. After using this kind of, giving some signals to Google's right now is good.
Mhm.
It's good. You know.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I'm always testing both. And of course I always like make budget adjustments depending on what campaign is doing the best. But yeah, that's one thing I've noticed makes it a little bit harder when you're going for leads is like you might have a lot more leads in PMAX, but the important thing is either talking to your client and
Hmm.
actually testing that lead quality, or
Yeah.
it's going to be like listening if you have call rail, which I do. So,
Yeah.
which I know
I
you
get
got.
it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for your like, this kind of like clarify answer. Yeah. I got it
Yeah, of
actually,
course,
what you're
dude.
saying. Yeah. And when you audit the landing page for Google Ads, so what are the three most important elements or things you just look at? Like, let's say, is this something? I know that copy, but do you think so? The short landing page works very great, or the long landing page? Because I was always fans like what types of landing page works very good. For some businesses, short landing page works, but for some businesses,
Mhm.
like it depends actually, like, I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And again, I know I've said this a lot and it's probably getting repetitive, but it definitely comes down to like, if
Uh-huh.
it's a luxury business or if it's essential. Have you ever used anything like called Microsoft Clarity or like
Yeah,
Hotjar?
I do. Yeah,
Yes.
Microsoft Clarity. Yeah, it's free.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I used Hotjar way before I even knew about Microsoft Clarity. I don't know if it's newer or what, but I'd used Hotjar for a long time and I put them on a lot of, clients' landing pages. And I
Uh-huh.
noticed that most of the times people aren't even like looking, like a large percentage of people aren't even, looking past 50% of the actual, like going down more than 50% of the page. So I didn't even really see it being, I guess, that important because a lot of that stuff down there gets not as seen. So again, it really just depends, right? But I always keep like the most important stuff, at the very, I guess, like top of the page. I always want to have the form, headline, call to action, people be able to call reviews, like as
Hmm.
up as high as I can because we know that every scroll we go, we just start to lose people, right?
Yeah, agree.
So
100% agree. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Uh-huh. So yeah, I mean, as you said that you are using the call rail, so I do have a couple of questions regarding that. So do you use call rail only for tracking the leads and I mean, checking the lead quality, or like there is a one way actually what we typically used to do that. Right now we are not doing that. I mean, someone's submit the lead from our calls. We listen the phone calls into a CRM system. Then once we qualified that, I mean, we marked as a qualified lead. Then it
Mhm.
sends to the back to the Google Ads. So I saw that by doing this kind of things, like our lead quality is good but our lead cost is so much high, then I remove everything actually from the
Right.
back end. Yeah, so I mean, how do you do that? Like in terms of conversion tracking, do you just track inside the Google ad platform, alone, or do you
Mhm.
do something else?
Yeah, that's what I do. I have all of like the actual calls just going right into Google Ads. Yeah, so I actually don't hand pick
Hmm.
them, like you do, because I was afraid of that reason. I did a lot of like research into it, like how that can affect, like cost per lead and whatnot, and also like I think the
Hmm.
biggest thing too is like one of the most important things of having conversions being tracked in Google Ads is to like
Yeah.
overall help the algorithm, right? Because that's going to make a big difference when you're switching to like like target ROAS or TCPA
Yeah,
or,
100%. Yeah,
maximize
correct.
conversions, right? So I
Hmm.
actually I have all mine going in there. So yeah, I have them all, but
Yeah, I get it. Like, and in terms of
mhm.
tracking the calls, like what is the best I mean scenario to, I mean, track as a call, I mean as a lead actually. For example, like we use 30 seconds phone call length, like when someone's calls
Mm.
and last more 30 seconds. Like I mean, what do you use actually in terms of seconds? 30, 60, or what?
Um, I actually, so when it comes to, and this is interesting, right? Again, I know I've said it so many times, but when it comes to those essential businesses, I do 30 seconds because usually it's like, hey, I'm locked out of my house. I need help. Cool. This is the price.
Hmm.
Great. Like here's my address. So
Yeah.
I'll do 30 seconds for those. But when it comes to like a more like luxury, non-essential business, I usually do 60,
Oh yeah, I
60
got it. Yeah,
seconds.
same
Yep.
thing. Yeah, same thing.
Hmm.
Same thing we are doing. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. I
Yeah.
figured. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's good to know. And
Yeah, for sure.
like, I mean, when you see a campaign's losing performance suddenly, what is the first thing you check, you know, to improve the campaign?
Yes, absolutely. That's a fantastic question. The first thing I look at is conversion rate right away. Very
Oh.
first thing I do,
Mm-hmm.
because I know you mentioned, of course, you haven't done as much with e-commerce, but unfortunately, I've seen this happen where, and this is also potentially my fault as well, of course, but communication with the client on this is very important. But there's been times where I've seen conversion rate drop from like 7% to like 1%, and I'm like, what happened here?
Wow.
So the first
Yeah.
thing I always do is I always check the back end, right? I'm like, let's go to the website, let's make sure everything works properly. And I had a
Uh-huh.
client tell me that they actually decided to it wasn't, I don't know if it was necessarily discontinue, but like they put a product on hold because of like just like whatever, like the particular time of season, and they
Uh-huh.
like did a different thing. So they discontinued a product
Uh-huh.
in like their Google Merchant Center and like on their website, and they didn't tell me.
Oh.
So it's like we're running traffic to this product that's like out of stock.
Oh,
So it's like,
sad.
okay,
Yeah.
right? So like
Oh my God.
you like that's come on, we gotta like that's very important, right? And like I've also seen
Yeah.
like some things like on websites break. Like for instance, if I see booking drop really far, I'll always text the client, and someone almost always is like working on the back end of the website or like messing with something, right? So if I see that, I immediately check conversion and I like, hey, can I check out this item or can I fill out this form? And then from there, and that's usually where I can find a good amount of the problems. But if it's not there, I always go into just like looking at search terms, and like the biggest thing is going to be the actual cost per click
Yeah.
is what I go to next right away.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of also in terms of bidding, I mean, which bidding I mean, you are using, I mean, when you start a new campaign, like, is this kind of like manual CPC or max clicks? And I mean, then once, how many, I mean, like there is things, right? I mean, once we have 30 or 40 conversions, then we switch to the Maximus conversions using a TCPA. But how do you do that? Like, I mean, I mean, how many leads once you get, then you think that right now is the best time to, like change the beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I follow the exact same thing as you. I typically go with 30 conversions and then I switch. But if it's so it is a big difference here, right? So if it's a new campaign in a Google Ad
Hmm.
account that already has data and already has conversions and everything else, then I will immediately go right into like maximizing conversions and optimizing for those. But if it's a brand new account, right, like with
Hmm.
no campaigns, no spend in it, then I will always start with like going for clicks and website traffic always.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of it
I
is
used
actually
to
on the
use.
account data. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. So yeah, I used to use the manual CPC, but right now it's not working. I would say it's not working anymore. Like I don't know why, because if we use the manual CPC, I mean, even though you are not spending your daily budget as well, so I don't know why. But MaxClicks is fine to start with a new campaign or fresh campaign. Then, I mean, I am always like fans of how many lead after getting we need to change the weight. Some people says
Mm,
20, some people say 40, some people say 30, like, I mean, then I figure out, like, by talking with a Google, I mean, higher level Google rep, he said that
mhm.
once you feel like that your conversions is stable, like you are getting 30 conversions each month, let's say, for next two
Right.
months plus your cost per conversion is like really stable, let's say, I mean, you are getting each month or maybe each week you are getting like $120 conversions. It's like fluctuate like 125 or 115, not more than
Right.
150 or something, like there is like no biggest difference. Then you can switch to the Maximus conversions using a TCPA, like let's say 125 or something. So yeah, I think, oh yeah, I got the answer, Yeah, it's really
Yeah, and
interesting.
I think you're 100% right too. Obviously, I'm sure that you know who Aaron Young is. I'm sure you know Aaron Young,
Yeah,
YouTuber,
yeah, yeah.
big Google Ads YouTuber. Yeah,
Yeah, I know
that's
him.
like the number he's always preached about. But yes, I think one big important thing that you mentioned there is not only 30 conversions, but it should be like 30 conversions in a month, right?
Yeah.
Like it needs to be like stable. Like it can't just be like, hey, we have 30 total, but it should be like consistent and stable conversions. So yes,
Mm,
I think that's a big piece to add as well. But
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I
I get it.
agree.
So yeah, I mean, in search it for local services, do you integrate the
Mhm.
audience segment? And let's say some people use observation mode first, then they switch to the retargeting. I mean, targeting
Mhm.
once they find the audience segment. Do you do that the same thing or no?
I don't do any audience targeting specifically, like
Mm-hmm.
audience segments for search campaigns
Search
at
campaign.
all, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. No, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
The only adjustments that I'll make in terms of the actual audience is as time goes through, I will typically like, I go like the actual audiences, and I will actually make adjustments on like the age groups, the age ranges,
Yeah.
the household
Mm-hmm.
income, and like typically gender is typically not a problem, but those are the big ones that I look at in terms of actual audiences, but I don't use any audience signals or segments for search
Segments.
campaigns at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I got it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in terms of clients reporting, so I mean, how do you do that? Like, do you send like monthly, weekly, or bi-weekly report to your clients, or I mean, which metrics you are adding on that report?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Yeah, so right now, I send a report to my clients every single Friday, and it's just
Oh,
covers last 7 days. Yeah, it's just I have a report going every week. The reason why I do that is because especially like when I take on someone brand new, I don't want to go like 2 weeks without talking to them at all. Like if I'm like, hey, great, like they pay the invoice, we get things set up, we're like, awesome, we're ready to rock and roll. I don't want to just like go silent for 2 weeks. I feel like that's a long time for a new client. So I just do that every week. And now most of the clients that I've had for like, 6 months to a year plus, they just don't even reply to them because they just like they look at them. But I think it's still good, stay top of mind like that, especially for the new guys. It helps a lot in
mm-hmm.
my opinion. And then I do like monthly actual like strategy calls. So like
Yeah.
once a month we actually get on and like go through the stuff. Like, hey, like that's when it figures out a lot of like, hey, what are you guys doing new like for the season upcoming or any new offers, like kind of actually talk about the lead quality, etc. But typically, like in those actually like those weekly reporting emails, I don't include like a ton of nerdy details because a lot of times like the clients don't know like all that stuff, and I don't just want to like bombard them with stuff that they don't really
Yeah.
understand. So I really just try and make it like a super simple like bite-sized email. So like if someone could read this, they'll know exactly what's going on, right? So the way that I have it, excuse me, prompted is like the very first thing I talk about is like here are the things that I did in the last week to the account. And
Uh-huh.
then I show a screenshot of the actual account. And of course, it's going to be like leads, cost per conversion, stuff like that, or ROAS, always is the most important, just standard
Mm-hmm.
overview metrics. And then
Mm-hmm.
under that, after that, I have like a little short paragraph where I talk about, hey, here's what I'm looking to do next, right? Like here's
Yeah.
the next steps, and that's basically it. And everyone I work with is pretty great with that because I first had it where when I was just starting my agency like a couple years ago. I really wanted to, be the guy on the calls and working good with my clients. And I would be getting on with my every one of my clients every 2 weeks. And I
Oh
very
my.
quickly just realized that like all my time is now going into these calls. And
Uh-huh.
almost like I don't want to say that no one cares, but like when I told everyone that, hey, I'm gonna, I want to spend more time actually working on the accounts and like I think we could, summarize this stuff in an email. Can we just stick to emails? Not one single client said no. So it's like, like they're busy as much as I'm busy. So like you don't need to
Yeah.
overdo it. So that
Yeah.
strategy, did take me some time to realize, and I was a little bit scared, to like distance myself from my clients, but it's worked great, and it's given me a lot of time
Yeah.
back to actually work on the accounts. And like I said, most clients they're running a business; they don't really care too much,
Yeah.
anyways, as long as your emails
Yeah.
are good. So
Agree. Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
100% agree. So typically what do you do actually? Like I don't have much clients to be honest, like couple of clients I have. So I don't send reports. Like I hate reports. Like people are sending, I mean,
Mm,
the way you said that you send report, it's good. Like you would just send me, I mean, you would just send a small, email. But some agencies I saw that like they send like a template, like here is the CPC, here this is the keywords. Client don't have any idea what they are saying, and client don't care about all of these
exactly.
things. Clients care their business, how much they spend and how much they earn. There's a thing, that's a simple thing
Yeah,
clients wants to know every time, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
A hundred
Yeah, that's
percent. 100%.
yeah, I mean that's why I don't send reports. I mean, what I do actually, like most, I used to like 90% of my clients, I mean, they are connected on WhatsApp. I sometimes, I
Mhm.
mean, at least once a week I just send them message, hey, I saw that we got X amount of lead, on Google dashboards. I mean, what about the lead quality? This kind of things. So, yeah, they said that yeah, they're
Mhm.
okay. That's how I do have one client. He's working with me more than I think 17 months. I mean, he's a
Mhm.
dentist. I mean,
Nice.
it's not an agency. He's a like dentist, and he's working with me. And he has 4 practices in Canada, and I am running ad for. I mean, 4 practices.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Solid.
mean,
Yeah, solid.
he's really good. Like every time I ask him, yeah, he said that yeah, this month we generated this kind because he using CallRail, so we know that how many lead we send to
Perfect.
them and whatever the lead, like conversion rate, like how many lead they converted into pure clients, right? They don't
Hmm.
care what is your target CPA, what is your like
Yeah,
conversion rate. I
exactly.
mean, they don't care about all of these things, right? Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Totally. Yeah. That's why I always like that first little thing was like, hey, this week I made these changes. We've got typically it is always just like the very first line is like that. And then I'm always like, hey, we got 27 leads this month. Woohoo! Cost per conversion is down. And I always talk about like the increase or decrease, right? So I'm like, hey,
yeah,
so far in August, cost per conversion is $5 better than it was all last month. Like, let's keep going. Like it's typically like, yeah. It's
yeah.
very because when I was drafting the emails first, it did not take me more than 5 seconds to just scratch it. And I'm like, dude, this is not like we need to be like more like friendly and lively and like it's cool because I do spend like a lot of time with my clients just like in general like I'm actually very I would say like good friends and like and, acquainted with a lot of my
Hmm.
clients and I have a lot of local businesses so sometimes we'll meet up at coffee shops like and actually go through numbers and stuff so I really wanted to like make sure that I wasn't going like to like corporate or like agency like template reporting. I still want to like
Uh-huh.
add some of like my flair
Yeah,
and like extroverted wording into our things and like keep it friendly, keep it basic and all my
yeah,
clients know they can reach out to me. So that was the way that I wanted to bridge that gap. Mainly, honestly, just to, like help with retention, of course, right?
yeah.
So
This is the
yeah,
most
that was the
important thing.
big
Yeah,
thing.
client retention. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Hmm.
Sounds like we got to figure it out, bro. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah, we did. And yeah, I mean, what is the one I would say, like if you just tell me the one advanced Google Ads tactic you think that most advertisers are not using enough, I mean, what it would be?
Ooh,
Oh,
dude, I've got like three. I got like
oh
three.
yeah. Let's do
I
one by
can give
one.
you. Okay. Okay, I'll make them quick. So the number one thing I say is going to be using Stags, single
Uh-huh.
theme ad groups. That's number one for sure. That's number one. And honestly, I don't know if maybe agencies aren't using these as much, but I know that like people running their own Google ads is really like
Oh,
who's not doing it, right?
yeah,
Of
of
course,
course.
that's the big one. I'd say like more for business owners running their own Google ads. That's the biggest one. And also like maybe agencies don't do it as much because to be quite honest, it just takes a lot more work. So most people
Really,
like aren't
it
really willing
is.
to do that because you're doing
Yep.
way more keyword research, way more ads. Like it genuinely is the non-lazy route, but I have a lot of success with it, so that's what I'm gonna do, right? Um, you know what? Maybe I'll just keep it to these two. The next one is for e-commerce, and I actually learned this maybe a year ago from Solutions 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with those guys,
Yep,
Solutions
yep,
8.
yep, yep.
Yeah, those are the big
Casting,
guys.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually listened to I went to a Go High Level in Dallas, Texas last year, and I listened to Qasim speak, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. One thing I learned from Solutions 8 that I think is super genius. So think about this, right? So every single campaign type in Google Ads, no matter what your keywords are, or if you have, multiple different campaigns bidding for the same keywords, you only get like one chance at the auction, right? Like if someone does a search on Google, your ads only come up one time in that search engine result page, right? Like
Correct.
you only get one
Yep.
chance at the auction, right? But
Mm-hmm.
with a standard shopping campaign, you don't actually. You can have more than one impression like in the standard shopping feed. So I know this is more
Mm-hmm.
for e-commerce, but it's so like for instance, like I'm working with a company out of Los Angeles who does like like streetwear, like more like gym fashion, like
Mm-hmm.
streetwear for the most part, right?
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah, I got it.
instance,
Mm-hmm.
and like a lot of their clothes just have like city, or state like logos on them, like an LA or like an NY hat, like a
Mm-hmm.
New York brim hat. So what
Yep.
happens is if someone looks up, like New York brim hat, we can actually have different ad groups inside, or I'm sorry, different campaigns, not ad groups, different campaigns, different shopping campaigns for like just like the blue New York hat, and then just the red New York hat, and just the black one. So now when someone looks up on Google New York brim hat, we will actually have all campaigns firing. So you can show up more than one time in the same auction with standard shopping, just in that shopping feed. So now when someone looks up something like that, then they see all those, right? And it only works because those like, they're going to be triggered from the same search. They're just different color, right? It's not going to work
Yeah.
if they're like way different products, but it has to be like different variations of something that someone would look up and potentially see all of them. But what I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to get at is now you can dominate the shopping feed because there's only like what, eight amount of things. If you're on a computer, there's like eight, things in the shopping feed. So if you can have
Mm-hmm.
campaigns firing and showing four, it makes
Yeah.
your brand look really, really big because you're dominating the shopping feed. And when someone clicks, Google is only cost per click. So you're not paying for the impressions, right? So
Yeah,
now
you're
you
paying.
have
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
multiple, right? So now you have multiple attempts at winning that auction without spending any more money. So that's a big thing
It's
I
true.
like. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. It's
I'm a
it's
big
it's
fan of
like it's a
that.
huge thing. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good, man. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude,
Probably
absolutely,
like
man. Industry secret. We got to keep that one on the down low. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah,
yeah.
those are the biggest things for me, man. Those are the
Oh
biggest
yeah.
things for me.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Yeah, bro.
So I mean, here is the fun part. So
Okay.
if you could change one thing about Google Ads to make life easier for advertisers, so what it would be?
More transparent reporting, because I'm
Oh
sure
my goodness,
yeah,
yeah. Oh my
obviously, right?
goodness.
Obviously,
Yeah,
like,
hidden search terms. Oh my goodness. I
thank you.
can't.
That's the first thing I was gonna say. That's the first
Yeah.
thing I was gonna say, dude. Hidden search
Oh my
terms.
god. Oh my god.
Yep.
I
I even
can't
have
stress enough.
clients,
Like I can't stress enough. Like
dude.
we spend lots of money in the like search terms. I don't
Hmm.
know why people. I mean, why Google not showing this kind of things. I tried a lot actually to find a script to. I mean, like to check this one,
Yep.
but I fortunately I failed. I would say, but yeah,
Yeah, that would help a
it's a
lot. I
weird thing.
honestly think, yeah, I think that like the hidden search terms is a huge one, especially when your CPCs are so high.
Yeah.
Like I have a lawyer in Los Angeles, and people might be watching this thinking this is a red flag, but it's not if you know the industry. His cost per click is easily $100 a click, easily.
Yeah.
So, and like, let's say you have a smaller budget, like let's say you're working, for him, it's like let's just say he's spending $10,000 a month. Like that's like 3 clicks a day. right? $300 a
Yeah.
day, $333 a day
Yep.
might be. And if
Mm-hmm.
some are higher, there might be 2 or 3 clicks a day. So when we're spending that much and you can't see every click, it's like, dude, that's a lot of money disappearing, right? Same
Yeah.
thing with like even like financial services, like people looking for financial planners, those can easily be $20, $25 clicks. And if people have a lower budget, it really, really hurts them. The only thing that I've been able to like give the excuse to Google is like people who use like ad blocker or people who use like incognito tabs, but I really don't think it's as many people, like I don't think that's all of it. I think
100%.
that's
Yeah.
I think they're keeping it from us. And then also
Yeah.
one thing too for the Performance Max, search terms also of course would be great, but then that would pretty much like remove like, a lot of the use case for the actual search campaign. So that maybe
Uh-huh.
not that one, but what I would say is like placement data. Like,
Oh,
because that's going to help me scale. I want to know, are we getting more clicks and conversions from the static ads, the display ads, or the
or
video
searches.
ads, or or
Mm-hmm.
or the search? Because that's going to help me scale. Because if I'm like, oh, dude, our videos are doing great, then that's going to make me want to do a video campaign or get better assets, video assets, right? Help my
Yeah.
client get those or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
it's like when everything is PMAX and it's catch all, like there's so many things in there, and you can only vertically scale a PMAX and just keep increasing the budget so much. Like we need to
Mm-hmm.
know like, okay, what has legs here? Like, is it static? Is it video? Like what's standing out? Like that would really help me, pick up a more horizontal scaling direction for client accounts. And that would
Yeah.
be good for Google because it's going to get us to spend more money in it, still on the platform, but
Yeah.
knowing
I
where
get
to
it.
go for that would be super helpful. So,
Yeah, I get it. So yeah, I mean, for the placement, what I mentioned actually, so we do have a script. I mean, there are, I mean, some free, I mean, what it called like free script in the market. I
mhm.
forgot his name. His name is probably Ninja something. I forgot his name. So if you want this
Oh, I think
script, so
I
yeah,
know
you can
exactly
read.
who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Okay.
So he has the script. Like I mean, we install it actually. You can see on your, I mean, Excel sheet or Excel file how many lead you got from specific and how much you spend on specific like partners, like let's say search, display, and video.
Mm,
This kind of platform. So yeah,
perfect.
it helps a lot. The problem is actually I saw a lot when you run PMX campaign and the search campaign alongside under one account. PMX
Hmm.
cannibalize the search campaign. It's I mean every time I saw this kind of things, and
Hmm.
there is no way to stop this. I don't know how. I mean we can stop it, but and here is the most important thing for search campaign. Let's say you are running a PMX and search campaign for a lawyer, for example. On
Hmm.
search campaign you will see that your cost per conversion is like $500, per conversions. but in
Right, right.
pmix campaign but in pmix campaign from the search like network, I mean not network, I mean like search platform, you can get like $150 per conversions. How?
Right.
If it's possible, why not I am getting the same amount of conversions and same cost per conversion from the search campaign? What's the issue?
Exactly. Yep, I agree 100%. Yeah, it's just it's weird. And that's the thing too is like, but when you don't know where the leads are coming from, like what channel, it's like there's nothing we can
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Especially too, like I'm sure you've experienced this too, but sometimes I've turned on a Performance Max campaign for a client and I've seen so much spam leads come in that I just turn it off. Like they're just so junk. Like
Yeah.
people, I call them and they're like, "How did you get my number?" And I'm like, "You just filled out the form." And they're like, "I've never heard of you in my life." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a problem." Or like people like in different states that aren't even in, like my location targeting. So yeah, like that makes it, yeah, it's like if we don't even know where these junk leads and stuff are, or the good leads are coming from, like what channel makes it super hard to like horizontally overall scale the account, like big
Yeah,
time.
agree.
I agree,
100% agree.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
100%
think
agree.
every advertising agency right now probably agrees. I'm sure. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am too. Yeah.